Folks, today on Crossing South, we meet a Baja resident who's a master at his craft. And we explore tasty desserts in Tijuana, and it's all coming to you this very moment. The glimmer of the sun bouncing off the Baja coastline. One of the nuances making Baja a sought-after place, not only to visit, but to live. You know, folks, across the Baja Peninsula, you have all these subdivisions, these communities, many in which expats have made their lives, not only from the U.S., but from, different countries around the world, because Baja is just like, it's cheaper to live. You can. I mean, it's got dirt roads. I mean, there's some setbacks, but people who have made a life here in Baja really don't mind that. You can have a significantly comfortable home without the rat race, and a very laid back community, and with all the things that our show has shown you just in your backyard. And we're going to talk to one guy, very interesting man, who has made a life for himself also in Baja. And it's the guy behind me right now. His name is Mark Killian. How you doing, buddy?
All right, how's it going, man?
How long have you been living here, man, in Baja?
I had this place about 8 years, I would guess. 7 or 8 years, yeah. And I've been coming down about 10 years.
Some people from more developed countries, they're like, oh, I don't know if I could live in a place with dirt roads or whatnot. Yeah. What would you say to people who are used to maybe a certain type of community?
Well, each to their own, and I heard your walk up, and I would say that's one of the pluses of this place for me is the dirt roads and the fact, I like that about it. I have my life in Los Angeles, which is the big city, right. Hollywood.
The normal stuff.
And then this is where I come to get away and, to do some kind of different work. And there's horses going past here all day. And
you have a beautiful view in front of you, right?
It's amazing. I mean, how can you not be creative?
You've got ocean, you've got mountains, you've got this river in front of you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. For want of a better term, it's third world, but I'm from a third world country too, if you want to call it that. Right. So I love that about Mexico, and always have.
The crustier, the better, right?
Exactly. Because that's where you find the cool stuff, You lift the rock up and you're like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Don't think he's roughing it out. He's got a very nice house.
Horrible.
We're gonna
come to my tent.
Mark invited us to get to know his rustic piece of paradise. Okay, so this is, I understand, your inspiration. And there's a reason, folks, why he has a keyboard here. Mark, you want to tell us what you do for a living?
So I'm a film composer. I write music for movies, some TV. And I work here, and I work back in Los Angeles, so I have a studio back there. But the way it works for me is when I start on a new movie, I come down here to develop the themes and what I'm going to do with the movie.
Really?
So I'll bring this time I don't have many, but I'll bring a batch of little instruments that I think I'm going to use in that movie. And I just come down here and I play and just try stuff out and, eventually sort of start developing the theme. And then once I've got that, I go back to LA and I, write and produce.
This is where you get your inspiration.
Exactly. And actually last year I did something new, which I'd been wanting to do for a long time. I worked with a couple of musicians from Ensenada.
Oh, local?
Good friends of mine.
Local musicians.
So anyway, I got a bunch of them together in a recording studio in Ensenada. And I bought literally a truckload of instruments from LA.
No way.
Because I have tons of instruments from all over the world that I just collect.
Okay.
And we spent 3 days in the studio projecting the movie up on the wall. And I just said to them, there's all these instruments, pick up whatever you like, make whatever noise you like with it, and we're going to record everything.
Sitar, dulcimer.
Yeah, exactly. Slightly easier instruments like wood blocks and stuff. But we, we had all sorts of stuff.
That's so fun. Yeah. For how long have you been doing it now, scoring films?
Ever since I came to LA about 23 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you're still doing it. You must be good. You're still doing it.
I'm surviving, man. I mean, I love it. It's kind of what I do, So I come down here with the instruments or whatever I think I might use in that film, and I sort of will put the picture up and push play on and loop it, and I'll just let I'll take a scene, whatever I'm thinking about, maybe I want to work on, and I'll just let it loop, and then I'll walk around here, pick up an instrument. And then suddenly I'll go like, okay, maybe that's a good sound.
Right, for that scene.
For that scene.
So you're not looping the whole film, you're looping a scene.
Just a scene. Just to
wow.
start trying to see what I can, bring to this picture.
Right.
What kind of emotional, setting does it need? And once I start finding something that works, then I'll, using that mic, or sometimes I bring more mics, then I'll record it in, and then I'll say, okay, now what do I add to that? And then I'll go look for another instrument, and so start building these ideas. And then the next day I'll do another scene. The next day I'll do another scene. And then maybe by the fourth day I'm like, oh, that first day was awful. Let me just throw that all away and start again on that scene now that I've discovered these other things. So it just goes like this, for weeks.
It's a very interesting profession. Probably a very small percentage of human beings on the planet do what you do, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine you'd end up, in the Baja Peninsula living?
Never. I didn't even thought about really coming down to Mexico. And, people say, oh, it's nice for a holiday. I was like, okay, fine. But I never came. And then I got a movie which was shot in TJ.
What?
It was called North by El Norte.
You're like, I'm going to do a movie about TJ. I should go to TJ to see how it is, right? To Baja.
And then I just spent weeks like walking the streets of TJ at night. You can't read that stuff up in a book. You got to breathe the air and smell the streets.
As a film composer, you show up to Tijuana. What's the impression? Just tell me what you got, what vibe.
At first, I suppose I was quite surprised how much music is woven into culture here.
Wow.
Which it's very much like that in Africa too. It really is there's music everywhere here.
Right.
You walk the streets, there's groups
blasting
all over the place, walking the streets with their basses and their Norteño groups and all this stuff. And
right.
Every bar you go to, there's a lot of music here. So this is a piece I wrote right here, and this is just up the road here.
Yeah. Wow. What instrument is that?
So that's a ronroco, which is actually a Bolivian instrument.
It's beautiful. Man. So you get that clip and you're like feeling it, right?
Yeah. Just trying to see how does it feel to be this guy? What's going on in his head, and how do you emote all of this?
Wow.
So that's an example of
that is so cool.
I did an Indian movie some years ago. I went to India. I've done South African movies. Of course, I'm from there, but I do go back there to work and to record. And I feel it's important to try and at least distill the culture into your. It's almost like you're making a mixed drink, right? You've got to put a bit of that culture in there with everything else that's yours.
A little bit of ingredients. You got to taste that little, regional touch, and I can definitely hear it there.
Yeah.
Can you show me a little example of how you would do like something? You're going to score something. A little bit of your process.
I'll just show you how it's played, and then I'll give it to you, and you can play it.
Are you going to put that in my head?
I'm going to put it on your lap. If I put it on your head, it'll hurt.
Oh my goodness. What sort of wizardry is this? No way. How can so much sound come from this?
Amazing, right? So give it a shot.
Tell me what this alien artifact is.
This is basically an inverted steel drum in a way.
Okay.
It's called a hang drum, invented by a guy in Switzerland. They're very hard to make, and they're quite expensive and difficult to come by.
We looked it up. $900 on eBay. Wow. So what do I do? Just
tap on those things. You see those? And this one.
It took me a bit even to get it to make a sound. I think I'd rather have Mark play it. I feel like I'm transported to another place. I don't think anyone who would hear that would imagine what instrument
what
you
it
played.
is. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So let's say I'm working on a scene, and that's kind of working for me. Maybe it's you walking through the river over there with a horse.
Yeah.
And, you're thinking about
Of course.
something. And
Me with flaming red hair, last of the Mohicans.
That one. Exactly.
Of course.
Exactly.
Pecs, showing.
And then maybe I'm looking to, reflecting on your childhood or a lost love or something.
Of course.
And then you maybe you want to bring in something. So maybe that now makes the scenes feel a bit different now.
Of course,
because
that moment
more reflective.
I think I brought a cowboy hat on now.
Exactly.
Prospector hat. Hank, I'm calling you out.
So that's sort of what I do, and then maybe I'll pick up maybe you want. You can do this. Just hit something. In time with that, and maybe you want a bit of rhythm because now
just hit something.
Now you're on the horse and you're going. You need a bit of rhythm or something, or clapping, or whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Let me record that, and then it'll be
mine.
It'll be yours forever. But I'm not paying you.
No. Nor do I want to. This experience alone is reward itself in itself, Mark.
Yeah, let me just close that. Maybe you're riding a horse in a big, vast expanse of space.
I can see it.
And so you'd want something like this, perhaps. So it's a very crude example, but that's how we roll, man.
Very nice, man. You got me excited. Man, you got a nice job, I gotta say. I got a nice job.
You do. You do. You do. I mean, do you want to swap for a week?
Exactly. I think you could have the skill for mine. I don't think I could have the skill for yours.
Oh,
but nonetheless,
that was a stellar performance. I beg to differ.
Mark, oh my goodness. Is there anything else that maybe you can tell us about Baja before we close this out?
It's people ask me a lot what it is about this place, and of course it's all of this. This is beautiful. People say, do you go there because it's cheap? No. Do you go there because it's this? No. You know what I really come here for is the people.
Right.
And there's something about the heart and soul of Mexicans and of Mexico that from the very first day I arrived in TJ 10 years ago, I just felt very comfortable with. There's something about it that reminds me a little bit about how people are in South Africa. There's an openness of heart. There's not a sense of, live to work. There's a sense of work to live.
Like in ancient times, it was almost like a duty for you to take care of a foreigner or a stranger, in ancient cultures, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's walking by your land or whatever, you feed them and send them on their way. Yeah. Hospitality is almost like a must in ancient culture,
it's
right?
woven into the...
Correct. And here, this region is like that.
It's like
you being a foreigner have probably experienced that.
Yeah. Well, all over Mexico, I mean, Oaxaca, I'd say even more so.
Yeah.
Like I was saying last night, Mexico's like an onion, and you think it's one thing, and
right.
the more you look and the more you peel, the more you're like, wow, this place, there's a lot of stuff to experience here.
This is really cool. And Mark's pretty cool. More Crossing South coming your way. Stay with us, folks. Don't go anywhere. Mark's open-minded view of this region has rewarded him with musical creativity.